Good morning, South Anchorage High School and surrounding community. It is Wednesday, September 30th. Oh my goodness, it's 31 days until the dark nights of witches, goblins, and gloom. Hey, whether you're celebrating Samhain, Halloween, Day of the Dead, whatever it is, we got 31 days until it is party time where we can all dress like surgeons and go up to buckets on the outsides of houses and keep distant and not knock unless it's with a stick and say, trick or treat, when really we're just taking things out of the bucket. It's kind of a different way of thinking about things when I think about it. But we're going to welcome the crew today. Hello, crew. Welcome to the Den, everybody. We got some special guests here for everybody. I'd like to introduce two faces you have not seen here before, folks. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Commissioner of Education for the state of Alaska, Dr. Michael Johnson, and President of NEA Alaska, Tom Claymire. Welcome, everybody, to the Den. We're glad to see you. We're going to go right into high gear today and let you guys kind of introduce who you are, what you do, and what this world of education looks like from the levels you guys to get to sit at. Because, like, you know, the Den crew, we literally are in a den. It's a hole. It's in the ground. We don't really see anything above that ground. So it's kind of cool to get a view of things from, you know, up where you guys are sitting. So if you would, Dr. Johnson, welcome to the Den. Let us know who you are, what you do, and what the world looks like outside of our hole.
Well, thank you, Mr. Butterfield, but I would say I think the perspective of the Den is probably one of the better in the state. So just from the episodes that I've watched, I think it's a pretty good one. And when you broadcast from the Wolverine Den, I mean, what better perspective will that be? So it's great to be here. I'm the Commissioner of Education, so I have the opportunity to observe what's happening in all the school districts in the state, including the Anchorage School District. So we work with all sorts of communities and schools around the state. So if you think about a classroom and how different all the people are in a classroom, that's kind of how school districts are. They're all really different and in really different places with really different people. But it's a great job. I get to see lots of neat things and lots of great happening around the state. And lots of great students doing great learning. So it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
That's fantastic. So I got to say, like, man, things are, you said it perfectly. Everyone's a little bit different in a classroom. Everything's a little bit different around the state. So we got to ask that question, right? So is there a count? Like, do we know how many schools are rocking and rolling in person versus distance or hybrid or anything like that? It's weird because, you know, we oftentimes sitting in a place like Anchorage kind of think, well, this is the center of the galaxy. Everything's got to be just like things are here. But I get the impression that maybe things are different at different spots. Have you noticed big differences on how people are running things?
Oh, yeah, I think, well, first I'll talk about what's the same. And I think everybody is committed to making the school year as successful as possible. And so I really appreciate that. In Anchorage, everybody there, and then all the other communities, I think folks have the same goal. How that's working out, think about it, in the communities. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but most school districts at this point have some students that are able to access things in the school buildings. Most school districts have students accessing instruction virtually. And there's a few places, especially where there's a number of cases where students are receiving instruction in a distant manner that doesn't involve technology, so paper packets. And then unfortunately we have a community, or a few communities where there's a high number of cases and they're kind of on a lockdown, hunker down mode. And so that probably will happen in various communities as things develop over the next few months.
That's crazy. So just kind of keeping in touch with all those folks and kind of learning it, you kind of sit in this position and really just trying to keep people, you know, positive and head above water and keep rolling forward and kind of having that kind of voice of hope for where we go next and what's the next plan. And this is not a barrier. This is a hurdle we need to get over. I kind of dig it. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we shouldn't let a virus outmaneuver us. We need to outmaneuver the virus. And I see folks overcome a lot greater challenges than we're facing. in their personal lives. I know friends that are suffering with sickness, going through other things in life, and they face those challenges and get through it. And we have so much going for, lots of great things going for us. So we'll be doing fine. We'll overcome the challenges. We're going to learn from it, and then after COVID, just think of what all the great things that we've learned that we'll be able to apply later on.
Yeah, and speaking of fast moves and outmaneuvering, I got to tell you, I am getting really good at this. Moving on over to Mr. Claymore. Welcome to the show, Mr. Claymore. So what is your perspective? Because I know that in a lot of ways you represent all of us folks that are trudging into buildings or down into our home offices and teaching kids and working with kids and things like that. What's the kind of general overview of the education world from your bubble, sir?
Yeah, thanks. Just so everybody knows a little background on me first, I'm a high school social studies teacher. I've been in the Anchorage School District since 1996 and had the pleasure of teaching with Dr. Allman. And so he and I are good friends, and we've had lots of great discussions about education and other kinds of things. I'm to this position by our members, and but I'm a teacher and I serve to represent their voice. And again, I'm learning about the state as a whole and the variety of teaching and learning conditions that the commissioner spoke of. And it's been really an interesting learning experience. So to answer your question, though, I guess there are a couple of fundamental things. Teaching and learning are going to continue to happen in one way or another. We are having to redefine what school is a little bit, right? We're redefining what meetings are, whether that's virtual or in person, and all of society, I think, is feeling the impacts of that. I think school and students are feeling it more than others because this is your daily existence. And, there's a transition period here, but I think school is going to fundamentally change. And it's going to take us some time as students work through it and as educators try to figure out how to make it better. And, it's that innovation and that collaboration and working together that, as a nation, we're investing an incredible amount of money right now in figuring out what remote learning looks like. And so it's only going to get better with that many educators and that many students working on essentially what is a giant problem. Like, how do we keep learning going? How do we engage students and move forward in crisis like these? And so, like I said, we're feeling some of the growing pains, but I'm incredibly excited that the tools that we're developing and learning about are going to make learning better as we move forward, whether that's face-to-face, whether that's remote, or in more cases than any other. It's going to be some sort of blended version of that. And so I'm excited about the possibilities and, what is to come in education.
Yeah, and these are all good things. I got to tell you, with all these new things we're redefining, like redefining meetings, redefining school, I got to tell you, I've spent a long time redefining what professional wear is, and below this desk, I got nothing on but scuba flippers, some striped socks that look like they came right off Where's Waldo, and a tutu. So I got to tell you, this has actually been really enjoyable for me. So, just want to say thank you both.
Based on what you just said, that's enjoyable for us too. That we're seeing the top up. So,
hey, one of my favorite directors of all time. He taught me something very, very important. Leave it to their imagination. Don't show them, and the rest will be done for you. All right, so we're gonna keep that right there. You guys just imagine next week it's gonna be like Lederhosen, and it's gonna be amazing. All right, so. Thank you, gentlemen, for both joining us. I know you guys are super busy running all kinds of things at way higher levels than I could ever dream of, but one of the reasons you are here today is to talk about next week we are actually starting a show that is highlighting a lot of the work that's going on in the state and bringing in other teachers to talk about some of the things that are working with kids. So a show for teachers, from teachers, run by these students, and I'm super stoked about it. So I just wanted to say thanks for coming in. We're going to get the times posted for that. It's either going to be way early morning or afternoon afternoon, and I'm kind of shooting for early morning because all these guys really love getting up and being in class at like 7 a.m. and then in archives, and they're just so happy about it. Like there are 3 people in the bottom right corner of my screen right now that are planning my doom. All right, so that is kind of where we're at, and we're super excited. So we also know that you guys have to go, and I think I'm getting real close to that time you said. So we know that when you need to zap off, go ahead, and we're not going to be hurt in any way if you need to take off. But before you leave, did you want to talk a little bit about the show, or just leave it to us to communicate it?
No, I'd love to. So really, the idea, communication is always so important. And as COVID's unfolded, and we want to support teachers as they're navigating all of these changes and challenges. And last spring, I watched The Den, watched you guys communicate with your fellow students. And I said to Mr. Butterfield, that's a great model. What if we tried that as a model for communicating with teachers around the whole state and do something like The Den, where we have a conversation, we give updates, we provide information, and then we just chat. So you guys inspired the idea, and I look forward to trying it out. I appreciate all you hosting it, and I think it'll be something unique, even in our state, but in the whole country. A way to communicate with teachers, hosted and run by students. That's fantastic. So I want to thank you for willing to try it, and I hope we get a lot of teachers to tune in. And with Mr. Butterfield emceeing and leading us through the conversation, I think it'll be a great opportunity. And if I can be half as cool and collected as your principal, Dr. Alman, I think it'll be great. So thank you.
Well, we like to call him Iceman around here. We're not much into the Mavericks, so he likes to fly it straight down, corner on rails. It's fantastic. All right, so we can actually move it right down into that. That was a great transition. You ever work in TV? You should work in TV. This is pretty awesome. All right, we're transitioning right down to Dr. Alman. Welcome back, Dr. Alman. It's always a pleasure to see you here on The Den. We're super stoked you could join us. Why don't you let us know what's happening in the South world, and we will be listening attentively and collecting questions for you, because it's your time on the hot seats, your time on the grill. These other 2 gentlemen, they get to get on their grill next week.
All right, thanks. So I'll bring it 1 degree closer, just maybe from a South audience or ASD audience, and just say that we are also continuing to learn and adapt. Things are changing quickly. Perhaps even more immediate than that is we are getting closer to the end of first quarter, and therefore first semester. In my newsletter on Monday, this would be primarily for parents, but also for students. Please, when you're checking Canvas grades, make sure that you're looking at an accurate percentage for the amount of work that has either been assigned or the student has completed, because if you're not doing that, you may be looking at a percentage that is just based on the work that's been turned in, not the work that's been turned in, and also all the work that may or may not have gotten done. Beyond that, maybe the simpler thing to do is just to pay attention to Q in the coming days, because that's going to be the record for submitting grades at the end of the quarter. So October 15th is the end of this particular quarter, and therefore first semester based on the model that we are running right now. The other thing to be aware of is that on October 21st, that is a Wednesday, so it'll be an e-learning day. We will host a new version, an adapted version of parent-teacher conferences. So there'll be a lot more information coming on that, but that will be basically an opportunity for all parents and students who want to check in with your new teachers. So you may have 3 new teachers, you may just have 2, but whatever the case is, you're going to have 3 new classes, and we'll put out a schedule so you have an opportunity to connect with those individuals. The other thing that I did want to mention is that I think as of this morning, the Anchorage School District has published a slightly different table or decision matrix for potential return to school, and that's informing a lot of the decision making at the district level. And my phone is ringing, and someone's probably calling me about what I'm getting ready to talk about. Activities are open right now. We've done it, I would say, generally successfully, but we have had some cases and we've had to track those. And so the same is going to be true if and when we return to school. I think I can share my screen and show you this real quick.
Thank you.
If you Go ahead.
No, I was saying thank you. We got some people peeling off, so I was just waving and saying
okay.
goodbye. You keep going.
So you should be seeing at this point the new decision matrix. This is at asdk12.org/page/16047. You can also get to it from the banner on the ASD website. Across the top here, you see the level of the risk of transmission inside of schools. So on the left, you see the dark green, that's lowest transmission, and on the right, you see the highest risk of transmission. Left-hand column. These are all of the different categories that are being considered on this decision matrix. So many people are familiar with the 14-day average case count per 100,000. So in Anchorage, what we generally do is cut this number in 3 to get the number that we're looking at. So right now, that's obviously on the highest end. If you come down 1, this is the percentage of positive tests. So it's just a different way of looking at the virus. So 4.6% right now. And these numbers are going to evolve each day as the department updates them at the state level for our particular municipality. The next level, also many people are going to be familiar with this. These are the mitigation strategies that we're using to try to stop the spread of COVID right now, particularly in activities since students are still in a distance model for instruction. So this is kind of an internal audit about internal resources, meaning do we have the cleaning supplies? Do we have the PPE? Do we have consistent implementation of those practices? So those are listed there. It's good to know that information. And you can also get some information on contact tracing and what that looks like. It's something that we're doing right now. And then the secondary indicators, if you are a person who has been paying attention to the department's data dashboard on the Alaska State website, this is information that's coming directly from there. So you have a percent change in the number of cases over a week. So one thing I like to do is look at this number, percent increase, and then also look at the 2-week average back up here, because to me, those two factors, relationship to one another, will tell you what the general trend is, even though these numbers are static. And then down here, perhaps just contextual, is the status of our hospitals. And then if we are in local or community spread, that's really important, at least for Anchorage, because if we have localized outbreaks, that has less of a negative impact on school than if it is community or public outbreak. And so this just manages that or measures it on a scale from very local to community based. So we're somewhere in the middle at that point. So I'll stop there, but just wanted to make everyone aware of this resource. It's something you can check daily. If you're a data geek, you can also get way deeper into it on the state website on their data dashboard.
Thank you, Dr. Allman. And I just wanted to ask real quick, and Ben, thank you very much. Ben, everybody, Ben is rocking the chat today as South Anchorage High School. We really appreciate the work he's doing. He is throwing in these links as we're bringing them up and throwing them out there. So you can just click that right there, and it's going to open up in another window. Then come back, make sure you're watching us, because you don't want to miss any of this, right? And so, Dr. Allman, I do just want to ask real quick. Let's pretend I'm not the genius my 7-year-old thinks I am, my 8-year-old thinks I am. And so if I'm looking at all this stuff, and it's amazing stuff, and I love seeing it, what does it mean, Basil? Like, am I waiting for everything to be in the light green, the dark green? What's an indicator that we might be headed back? Is the color have anything to do with it? Do I want to see like 4 out of 5 in a certain space? Where are we at? How do I look at this and make a plan as a parent to kind of know what's happening?
Not certain answers, but the more green, the better, certainly. What it does mean is that all of these are going to be taken into consideration, not just one of them. So it used to be, what is that 14-day case count? It has to be below 30 to even consider return. I would say that number hasn't really changed, but we got to look at that number, meaning 14-day average, and then consider the rest. I hesitate to represent those who are above me who are making those level decisions, but certainly we would want to see far less red, orange, and yellow before we return to school.
Yeah, indeed. And I wasn't trying to get you to represent anyone there. I was more of me just saying, like, has there been anything put out there that says this is how you read this thing to know what's going to happen next?
I think up here, if you are willing to read through all of this contextual information, that this will give you the context, there are links here for CDC, for American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as the World Health Organization, which are the sources from which this decision criteria has been extracted.
Cool. That is great. That's helpful. So what you're saying to me is, Butterfield, personal responsibility means you're going to go read this. And how I'm taking that is personal responsibility isn't an engineered conclusion. So I don't want to read things. I was elected to lead, not to read. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to kick it back to Dr. Allman. He just gave us a whole bunch of nice information. We're going to let that mellow and settle for a little bit. Ben has done such a great job putting that link right there in there. We're going to come back. I think we got some more updates going on around the school and around South Pacific. So, we're going to kick it right back in. Dr. Allman, take us away on some of that South Pacific pieces that are going on.
So I think just at local level, activities continue. So it's been good to get out and watch a lot of those activities. We've had cross-country meets every Saturday. I've been to a handful of volleyball games. I think we actually lost our very first and only set of the entire volleyball season against Bartlett last night. So that's only one out of several that we've played. Also had pretty dominant performance at West last Friday. Football's rolling on, so we've got a full slate of activities planned still, along with those mitigation strategies. Again, as I said, we're getting close to the end of first quarter. Everyone, please be aware of where you stand academically and do your very best to get as much done as you possibly can, because it's going to be a quick transition. First day for second quarter will be October 19th. So you basically have a long weekend, and then you're into your second quarter classes, and you should know what those are. If you log into Q, they'll just be the 3 that you're not in right now, so you can kind of anticipate what is next.
It's fantastic. Just a quick query to our folks from the Den that are here joining us. We really appreciate it. And we got 3 seniors kicking it down G-style in the bottom right corner. Yeah, there it is, right there, right corner. And I'm just curious, seniors, like you're coming up to the end of the first quarter, getting ready for those grades. The world has kind of been shaken up a little bit. As seniors, like, how is the year going for you? How are you doing? How do you like this 3 classes versus 6? How do you like this quarter versus semester? Like, what's shaking? And that's me trying to be hip. Is it working?
Well, I'd like to point out first that Ben is also a senior, and he's also been put on the spot here.
Ooh, Ben's a senior? Oh, I haven't known Ben as long as everyone else. That's pretty amazing. I didn't realize Ben. I don't like this. This just made me sadder. Now I'm losing 4 of you like that. All right, go ahead. Kick it out. Let's hear it.
I like 3 classes opposed to having all 6. I think it's a lot less stressful, and it's easy to manage things better than having like all 6 at once. I know in the spring I was very stressed, and I felt like I was spending all day doing all 6. So I really like this 3-class model.
Yeah, especially because like Grace and I have 0 hours one of our classes.
Me too.
But you have 4 classes.
I do, yeah.
And so Grace will get out of school by 11:30 every day, so we have so much time to go and do other things. And I have an ASD break class, so I have plenty of time to get that done. I like getting done with school early in the morning.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's funny that you say 11:30 is early in the morning, because like that's about the time I'm ready to go back to bed. So yeah, it's an interesting with the whole age thing, right? Where 11:30 is so early in the morning. I've already like eaten 7 meals by 11:30 a.m. So it's kind of crazy. All right, what about you, Grace? I didn't hear much from you, Grace. Didn't hear anything from you, Ben.
I really like the 3 classes. It's definitely a lot easier to manage. It took a while to get used to, like, the online, but I think we're starting to settle into it, and it's getting a lot easier.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you, Ben. How do you feel, Mr. Senior? I should have known that. I've written like 3 letters of rec for you this year, haven't I?
It's really nice having the day off on Wednesday that you don't have to sit in front of a screen other than doing the Den meetings here, but probably the hardest part is just having to just be sitting at your desk all day long and not really being able to interact with anybody, but there's nothing we can really do about that. So
well, I disagree, and I want to say, like, what are folks out there? Throw it in the chat. What are folks out there doing, like sitting at a desk? Wait, just sitting at a desk all day long. What are some of the creative things you guys have done in order to kind of get up, move around in between those classes and kind of get some of that action going on around the house so that you're not just sitting at a desk all day? You got to be doing something big. You are not sitting at that desk all day long, have you? You are getting up, walking around, doing some push-ups, doing some handstand push-ups, like, playing the drums next to you have a little brother or sister? Yeah,
Yeah, I got a little brother.
Do you put a drum set next to his bed and just Yeah,
That's a
good.
good idea.
That's a good person right there. I like that. That's a good big brother. All right, good. Yeah. Tell us, what are you guys doing back home in the chat? Tell us in the chat. What are you doing to keep yourselves busy in between classes during the day so you're not just sitting down in front of that screen all day? Let us know what you're doing. That's good stuff. All right, Ben needs some help. He needs to figure out what to do with his day. Cool. Well, that's fantastic. Dr. Allman, you got anything else for the good order to pass on to the South community?
I'm good for now.
All right, I'm going to take that from you, hand it right over here to Ms. Frankberger. Ms. Frankberger, welcome back. Good to see you again. I hear you are taking us down a dark and spooky path.
Yeah. Well, this week is Banned Book Week. It's celebrated every year, and it's to celebrate the freedom to read. Many books are challenged or banned from libraries, both public and school, or from classrooms, because somebody disagrees with the content. This year's theme is "Censorship is a Dead End. Find your freedom to read." So, and I thought I'd share a few of the books that we have in the library that's on the current list of banned books, and then a few books that are historically on the list. But one of them this year is The Handmaid's Tale. I listened to it a few years ago, and it is very disturbing because of the story, but it's been challenged because of vulgarity and sexual overtones. So people have challenged this, and the next one I have is all the Harry Potter books. Our first book is checked out, but all the Harry Potter books have been challenged pretty much since they have come out because of magic and witchcraft. They say there's actual curses and spells, and the characters use nefarious means to obtain their goals. So, and I've read all the Harry Potter books. A lot of the books that appear on the list, especially recently, are books that are LGBTQ, and this one is Beyond Magenta. I have not read this book, but it supposedly has effects on young people who read it, and there's concern that there's bias in it. But like I said, a lot on the top 10 this year has to do with the LGBT content. And one that's on the list this year again, and it's pretty much on every year since 2005, is Tango Makes Three. It's based on a pair of male penguins in Central Park Zoo that actually hatched an egg, and it became a family. But because the penguins are considered gay, it has been challenged or removed from certain areas of the library because it's a children's book, but apparently they shouldn't read it. I think that is ridiculous. And roughly some of the ones that have been on for historically on, The Catcher in the Rye, many times it has been on the list.
I'm stepping in there. I'm sorry. Catcher in the Rye should be banned.
It should be banned.
It completely should be banned. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's just a whiny teenager through the whole entire book. He's just whining all the time. He's just so upset about everything. He's just so upset and whining. I'm just joking, but it shouldn't.
Now, I remember that from my high school years, needing to read the book for class. And profanity, it's immoral, centered around negative activity. A quote is, "It's a filthy book."
But the most important thing to remember is the kid is whining through the whole thing.
Exactly.
He makes it acceptable for teenagers to whine. It needs to be stopped.
Oh, and The Great Gatsby's has been on this for language and sexual references. And I think most people in high school have read this, or as they get through high school. To Kill a Mockingbird for filthy. It's a language. It was considered a filthy, trashy novel. profanity, racial slurs, and this is the one that a quote conflicted with values of the community, and that's from Texas, some school in Texas. And finally, of Mice and Men, it's been on the list many times too for profanity, using God's name in vain. Another quote is Steinbeck is known to have an anti-business attitude and questionable patriotism. So those are the main ones. This is when I've had students say, well, why is this book in the library? I don't think it should be. And I just basically tell them, don't read it then. If you disagree with it, the content, don't read it. Of course, at the high school level, there's certain books that, because of the reading level or whatever, I would not have in the library, because you do have to make decisions that way too. But I would not go to the public library and say, you need to take this book out of the library because of the content. That was fast and went through, but I found in the past when I talk about banned books, it really gets people to check out books. Which reminds me, go to the library's website. I put it in the chat, and you can check out books through the instructions there for curbside. And finally, please return your library books. We have over 400 books still out. Please, please, please return them. You may be getting emails about it because I'm slowly going through that process, but please get them in.
And I just want to personally apologize to everyone out there. I'm pretty sure my eldest kid has about 297 of those books still out, so it's really my fault. I'm not going to do the math, though. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Frankenberger. We appreciate that you're here and you could join us. We really dig it. We appreciate it. It's rocking and rolling. And it's Banned Books Week, people. Go out and read a banned book, unless, of course, you've been banned from reading that book and can't get a hold of it because it's been banned. But other than that, get a hold of it, get banned. Yeah, and that's how it's going to go. Be aware, though, that, someday we will get that rabbit farm. Someday we'll get the farm and we'll watch the bunnies. It'll be amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kick it over to Elliot. Elliot, you have any student government things happening over there that you need to tell us about? Boom, boom, bada, bada, bing.
So we were supposed to announce the homecoming king and queen at the halftime of the Diamond game, but that got canceled. So right now I'm not going to announce it, but we are working on a really cool way where everyone can be involved and read bios or something and make it really cool for the king or queen to make it a special experience. However, each class made homecoming posters that if you city game, if you had one of the tickets, you got to see. And so the results for that, the seniors and the freshmen tied for first, which was crazy. The juniors got second and the sophomores got third. So congrats to the seniors and freshmen. And if you are if you have an open spot in your schedule and you're a junior this year, we do have an open spot in student government. So if you want to come out and interview and try, if you just happen to have an open spot, feel free and just let me know.
That's fantastic. And I know that Elliot has promised us that student government is putting together some snapshots of those posters so that we can show you cats next week everything that was happening. And I'm super excited about it. And then hopefully that announcement will be made by then and we can then tell it here because, everyone in this room knows. So everybody out there, you can get a hold of everyone in this room because we all know, but we can't tell you. And it's this wonderful, wonderful thing. Not just joking. We don't really know. Everyone's going to be getting everyone's bing, bing, bing. We really care about this and we want to know who it is. And then you got to be like, no, he was lying. We don't know anything. All right. So thank you, Elliot. We really dig it. What is next on our agenda, Elliot? Because I think some people are tired of seeing me.
So there's probably the most important news. I'm going to hand it over to Bria. There's some very important voting that you can do that is just very, very important this year. So I'll hand it over to Bria and let her explain.
It is officially Fat Bear Week of 2020. It is a thing that the Katmai National Park does. They get all these pictures of the bears that you could see if you watch the Brooks Falls camera. You see the bears eating fish. They get really, really fat. And it is time to vote for the fattest bear. So please, we'll put the link in the description. Go vote for the fattest bear. Voting is twice a day. They're doing it bracket style. Single elimination. Vote for your favorite bear. This is really important.
Okay, so bracket style tournament voting, right? So this is how it is. We got it single elimination. So what you're telling me is that can I vote for a bear more than one time per bracketed space? Do they have that system set up that well, or can I go in and just pummel it with a ridiculous amount of votes in order to ensure that my fat friend wins.
I mean, you can, but that's not really fair to the other fat friends.
Please don't commit voter fraud in either of the elections happening this year.
Oh man, you guys are brutal, man. You're holding me what is all this personal responsibility stuff today? This is getting ridiculous. Do you hear this? All these children in that computer right there tell me, well, Mr. Butterfield, you need to be responsible for yourself as a citizen of the United States. You cannot be voting for one bear more than one time at a time. That is not fair to me. I don't really like this at all. What are you doing teaching me? All right. So, all right. What else do we got to know besides fat bears rolling in the water? And by the way, thank you, Ben, for putting that link in the chat so everybody watching right now can go make sure you're voting for fat quadruped eating slimy fish.
Grace, how do we submit yearbook photos?
Okay, so you download the Yearbook Snap app on your phone, type in South Anchorage High School and the access code Wolverines, all lowercase, and then submit any picture you want to submit there.
And everybody watching today, Ben's getting a raise because, like, every week I tell someone else to be monitoring the chat and putting all this stuff in as it's going on, and I can see his eyes, like, look at him. He's laser focused on it right now. He's listening to everything Grace is saying, trying to ignore me so that he can remember what she said, and he's popping it right into the chat. Thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate the work that you are doing today. Thank you very much. Kicking it back. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Bria. Moving it on. What do we got next, Elliot?
Keep it in the same box or move it over to Clara. And do you have any news about AP test registration? I think, like, how we go about doing that.
This is just a reminder that you have to be registered for APs by October 30th. If you log into myap.collegeboard.org, you can enter in the join code that you got in your email and pick the test. The fee is $95, except for seminar. It's going to be a little bit higher. And then fill out the form, the link that Ben is going to put into the chat that shows South that you register for the test.
That is awesome. So, whoa, what a big day. We get to vote for fat bears. We get to send pictures of ourselves voting for fat bears. And we get to make sure we're registered for AP because it needs to be done within a month. And we can't lose out on voting for the fat bears twice a day leading up to making sure our AP stuff's taken care of while taking pictures of us signing up for AP and voting for fat bears and sending it down to the yearbook. Is that right? Did I just nail that? That was pretty good. I'm kind of excited about that. And, well, you know, my ego needs to be fed, so I'm happy about that. All right. So that's, I think, it for that square of today's service today, Elliot. Where are we moving next, sir?
We're moving right to you, and people wanted to know, like, when and more information about the drive-in movies happening.
Drive-in movies. If you go to the PTSO store, where you can buy some really fantastic sweats this year, by the way. I've got to try a few of them on. They are amazing. I'm actually wearing those right now underneath the scuba flippers and the tutu and the socks. They are just so comfy and fantastic, and you can get those at the PTSO store, so we really suggest you go take care of that right now. But while you're there, there is a nice little spot that talks about the drive-in movies, which are starting October 16th and 17th. That is our first weekend of drive-in movies. We're working on the theme right now. It's either going to be classic drive-in movies or 80s sci-fi. So we're still talking as a group on whether or not we're going to let you vote on the theme for that weekend. Once the theme is voted on, then we'll start looking at movies and get movies figured out and voted on. And here's how it's going to work, folks. Starting Friday, October 16th, in a town near you, which your town, in a parking lot near you, we will have drive-in movies. $25 a car. That's what it's going to cost to get in. I don't care how many people you pack into that car as long as they all have seatbelts. That's going to be the important part. Everyone has to be able to be seatbelted because the last thing I need is to get in trouble for you not being in a car that has a seatbelt available for you. So $25 a car. Right now, it's bring your own snacks how you want it. I know that student government's working on some voodoo magic to make something else kind of happen. We'll get more to that to you as we kind of get closer to it. First films are going to start probably around 5 o'clock on a Friday. That's mostly for, like, kids, families, stuff like that. You know, it's going to be a little lighter. Some trolls, maybe. I'm seeing some trolls. Not that weekend, depends on the theme. But we're going to be something a little lighter. And then in the evening, starting around 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock. Depends on the movie lengths, everything like that. You'll get all that information next week. We'll get into a little bit of the more PG-13 realm, but still nothing that's going to get me fired because it's the last thing we need in this world, right? And then Saturday's same gig, right? We're going to have 3 films. We're going to start those up around 5, another one at 7, another one at 9, somewhere in that lane. That gives us enough time to scoot out all the cars that bought that film and bring in all the cars that bought the next one. Sound goes through the radio, giant LED screens. We're setting those up in a couple weeks, and we'll get some pictures and some video of that to show you folks back at home. And we got it right now for sure 2 weekends, so which means we have the October 16th and 17th, and then we have Halloween weekend. I wonder what theme we're going to use for Halloween weekend. Anybody have any ideas for what themes we should use for the movies for Halloween weekend?
Christmas movies.
Ooh, that's solid. Yeah, Christmas movies, maybe like Charlie Brown Easter or something like that. That would be fantastic. I mean, that's what I watched at Christmas. Isn't it what you watch at Christmas? Okay, so we know we're going to have those 2 weekends, and if we sell them out, we're only going to do 100 cars per show. If we sell out all those films, I might be able to talk the people who own the screen into coming back and sticking with us. So let's make this fun, folks. It's going to be a blast. If they can fill up parking lot up at Palmer with 100 cars, I think we can fill that up here at South. So ladies and gentlemen out there in the big world, that's what's happening with the drive-in movies. Did that feel like it was a good amount of information for you, Elliot?
That felt good about drive-in movies to me.
Okay, fantastic. Also, while you're at that PTSO store, hey, why don't you sign up for your membership again? It's $5. A big chunk of the money that we're doing with this, with the movie theaters is to put back into that PTSO fund because it kind of got drained. Taking care of some things for kids last year that were having kind of a rough year, and being able to have graduation for those seniors that meant something for them. And you know what? I mean, we might have to do something like that again. We don't know. So let's help out everybody back at home. When you get to that PTSO store, make sure you click on the year membership. It's $5. It helps kind of make all those things happen for students. And the cool part is you could sign up for like 30 years all at once if you wanted, and then you wouldn't have to do it again later. So it's kind of fantastic. You can do it all at once. In 30 years, not that much, $150. You got 30 years of PTSO membership. So if you plan on having like 6 more kids that are going to have to go through South Anchorage High School, you're kind of covered. So that's kind of where we're at. You guys have anything else better for the order or good for the order or best? Helly, I know you're not feeling the best today. I hope we didn't get to hear you talk, but we just want to make sure you're feeling better. So I'm glad that school is at home right now just for the fact that you get to join us. If we weren't able to do that format, then you wouldn't be here with us right now. So get better, feel better, drink lots of soup, lots of orange juice, and, make your parents wait on you hand and foot. Does that sound fun? Okay, that sounds fun. Okay. Anyone else for the good of the order? Nope.
Got a couple questions from the chat.
Ooh, chat questions. I totally missed the chat questions. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. There's one quick question. When are we going to go back to school?
We don't know. That was easy. Next question. Based on that matrices, that chart that you guys all saw today, we don't really even know what that chart has to look like before we can start thinking about going back to school. And when I say we don't know, I mean none of us in this space really know yet. But as soon as we know, guess who's going to know? You're going to know. I mean, the Commissioner of Education for the state of Alaska said you guys knew more about what was going on than a lot of the people outside of the den. So I'm going to tell you, folks, when we know, you're going to know. I promise you. We have never kept anything from this crowd. We will always tell you what we know when we know it. All right, next question, Ben.
Yeah, there was a question from Mr. Pernage about what students think about like the new model of learning with like 3 classes and like what will that look like going forward in like future years.
Yeah, and I think he was kind of hoping maybe some of the students watching were going to put that into the chat, and I really appreciated the folks that answered in here. I thought that I really dug that you guys were honest about it. I will tell you as a teacher, it is a lot easier grading 3 classes worth of work in this model than it was grading 6 classes worth of work. And it allowed me to actually, I think, and you guys are in some of my classes, it allowed me to actually assign some assignments that took some actual depth because I had more time to grade those. So I really have been appreciating that a little bit. to be able to have that model. But I am not the student. I am not the end point customer of this experience, so I really appreciated that you guys were willing to share it. Just a quick straw poll. We won't get into it. Those of you that are here in the den today, how many of you do not like 3 classes a day? Well, that was easy. That was fast. See, this is a highly scientific poll. And so I really appreciate you guys participating in that. Any more questions, Ben?
There's one more. There's a debate at the beginning of the chat about which kind of bear was best.
All bears are best. Bears. All
Winner
bears are
of
best.
the Cat My Bear competition.
Beats and bears. Beats and bears are best. Yes. Okay. What questions? Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Are there any more questions in the chat that aren't related to the office?
I think that was it.
No? Okay. Thor, if you're watching today, you know who you are. I expect answers from you on which bears are the best. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back home, we really appreciate you joining us today. As always, The Den is brought to you by your sponsors at South Anchorage High School Media and Dr. Allman for not canning me and throwing me out in the street for talking too fast on the air. So we appreciate you joining us today. We appreciate everything you do for each other. Take care of each other. Take care of your friends. Take care of your families. And as always, keep your claws sharp, Wolverines.
You call 742-6200 Chromebooks now. You call 742-6200 Chromebooks now. Chromebooks now. Chromebooks now. You call 742-6200 Chromebooks now.